lot of us are uncertain about how we should be investing our money. What is the ideal order of investing it? Should I be paying off high interest debt? Should I be maxing out my 401k? Should I put money in a Roth IRA? Do I use an HSA? Should I buy a rental property? Do I pay down high interest debt? I'm going to go over that in today's video, and I'm going to break down the ideal order you should be executing on that. Now, I've got a downloadable guide on this in the description below. I'm Matt Sorensen. Let's build wealth. All right, first thing we got to have is an emergency savings account. It's not exciting, it's not sexy, but you need to have it. Now, my opinion on this is 1 month. I want you to have 1 month of emergency savings. A lot of people say 3 to 6 months. I'm going to come back to why I don't think you need that. Primary reason, you can access your 401k and your Roth IRA penalty free. These are tax advantage places we can invest. So I don't think you need a lot of emergency savings. We can get into investing faster, but make sure you at least have 1 month. You have a car repair, medical expenses, other unexpected expenses. Let's at least have 1 month of expenses saved up. Now, a lot of people stress out and put too much emphasis on getting interest on their emergency savings. Yes, put it in a money market fund or a high yield savings account, but do not get a CD. Those are not liquid. There are penalties when you pull money out from a CD. Remember, the purpose of this is to get liquidity and access to cash quickly. All right, second on the list is the 401k match and out strategy. We want to contribute to our 401k up until the match from our employer. This is free money that your employer throws into your 401k for you. This is a huge benefit. If you have a 401k, 403b, simple IRA where there's a match coming from your employer, you've got to do this first. This is the easiest free money you can pick up for long-term wealth building. I'm going to break down how the 401k match works. Then we want to get out of the 401k. We're going to come back to the 401k later, but let's just get the match and get the hell out for now. Now, here's how the match works. Let's say you have a 401k where your employer says, hey, will you put in 4% of your salary? We'll match 4% of your salary. So let's say you make $100k a year. I use that number because it's easy. You make $50k, it's half this. You make $200k, it's double it. Stick with $100k, we can do the math. All right, let's say you put 4% of your salary in there. You put $4,000 in there. The company you work for is going to match that $4,000. So now you have $8,000 of total savings in your 401k. That is 100% return on investment, guaranteed. It is not likely you're going to get 100% return on investment anywhere else. That is why we are starting here with the match and out. Now, the company might say, but you can put up to $23,000 in your 401k. I'm going to come back to whether you should do that or not, but for now, let's just put enough money in to get the match and then let's get out. All right, the third thing you need to do, pay down high interest debt. If you have credit card debts, high interest consumer debt, we've got to pay that down. For example, let's say you're paying interest at 18% on a credit card. That means you have to earn 18% in investment, which is really hard to do. So the best use of our money is to pay down that debt because it's costing us 18% every year. The Dave Ramsey method to paying down debt is called the snowball method. And what that method is you take your lowest balance debt and pay that off first, and then apply your money towards paying off the next smallest balance. That creates psychological incentive for you to keep paying down debt because you're seeing debts go away. However, I do not like the debt snowball strategy. I would instead pay off high interest debt first and then go to the next highest interest rate debt second. Do not pay off low balances first. This is simply math. You will pay down your debt faster by paying off high interest debt, the highest debt first. So to contrast the two strategies, let's say you have $5,000 at 12% interest and you have $30,000 on a credit card at 18% interest. Under the Dave Ramsey debt snowball method, he's saying pay off the 5K first, then get to the 30K. I don't like that strategy. I'm still paying 18% debt on that 30K balance. The Dave Ramsey method is let's pay off the lower balance first, you get a psychological win, and then you're applying all of that additional money that would otherwise go to pay down that debt to the next balance. I like to do the opposite. I'm not looking for a psychological win, I'm looking to build wealth. How am I going to do that the quickest? By paying off the high interest debt first. That's costing me the most money. Yes, it might be a higher balance. Yes, it might be taking me longer time, but I'd rather let this 5,000 sit there at 12% than 30K sitting there at 18%. Whatever strategy you use, you've got to focus here to pay down your high interest debt first. Do not start investing and trying to beat an 18% rate of return. It's possible, but very hard. All right, let's get to the next step. Next, I want to consider the Roth IRA. And for you high income earners, I want you to consider the backdoor Roth IRA. The Roth IRA, I can put 7K a year into it. Now on either Roth IRA strategy, the regular regular Roth IRA or the backdoor Roth IRA, for any of you 50 or older, you get to put an extra $1,000 into the Roth. Now, I don't get a tax deduction when I put the money in, but the nice thing about a Roth IRA is I invest the money, it grows tax-free, and it comes out tax-free later at retirement. When you think of your traditional IRAs or traditional 401ks, you do get a tax deduction to put it in, and as you grow and build the wealth in it, you're not paying taxes, but you pay taxes later as you're distributing the money out at retirement. The Roth IRA is a little different here, and I love to use it in this spot because this is a tax-free bucket of wealth that you can use to grow. Now, one thing I love about the Roth IRA is I can pull the money I put in the Roth IRA out penalty-free at any time. This is why I don't like a large emergency savings account. I can use the Roth IRA as my emergency savings account. For example, let's say for over 5 years, I put $7,000 a year into the Roth IRA, and I've got $35K in it now. And that's just my contributions. But let's say that the account value is now $50,000 because of investment earnings and growth. I've had $15,000 of investment earnings. So that total $50,000 balance, I can pull out $30,000 penalty-free at any time. The contributions you put into your Roth IRA can come out to you penalty-free at any time. That is a much better vehicle for investing in savings. It's tax advantage than simply putting money into an emergency savings account. Now, you do have to get it out of the Roth IRA. There might be some time deadlines and delays in getting the money from your IRA custodian. So I do still like 1 month of emergency savings, but the Roth IRA is a great savings and investment tool, and I can use it as an emergency savings account. And that is one of the unique things of a Roth IRA. By the way, you cannot pull money out at any time from a traditional IRA, even your contributions. Now, if you're high income, you can't do a Roth IRA, but you can do what's called a backdoor Roth IRA. For example, if you make over $230,000 of annual income and you're married, you actually cannot do a Roth IRA through the front door, but you can still contribute to a Roth IRA using what's called a backdoor Roth IRA strategy. We do that at our company, Directed IRA. I've done that every year for the last 5 or 6 years. Fidelity does this. You can do this backdoor Roth IRA strategy everywhere. Essentially how that works is you make a traditional non-deductible contribution into a traditional IRA, and then you convert it to a Roth IRA on day 2. It's called the backdoor Roth IRA. It takes a 2-step strategy. Now, I've got another video on that. Make sure you click in the description below, and you'll be able to get the video on breaking down the exact way to utilize the backdoor Roth IRA for any of you high income earners. But in the end, it's a way for me to get $7,000 a year into my own Roth IRA. I just had to do the backdoor method. And if you're married and have a spouse, they can also do $7,000 in their backdoor Roth IRA as well. Now, one little caveat on the backdoor Roth IRA is you don't get to pull the money out at any time. That's only for regular front door Roth IRA contributions where you can get the contributions out at any time. The backdoor Roth IRA actually is a conversion, and there's a 5-year rule to pull out converted funds in a Roth IRA. So don't think of your backdoor Roth IRA as an emergency savings vehicle like I explained earlier on the front door regular Roth IRA. Now, the next place you should be investing your dollars is in a health savings account. For an individual, you can put $4,150 into a health savings account every year, and for a married couple or for a person plus a child that's considered family, you can put $8,300 into an HSA. Now, the nice thing about an HSA is you get the triple tax benefits. When I put the money in, I get a tax deduction. As the money grows, there's no tax on the investment gains. And the third benefit is no tax as the money's coming out for qualifying medical expenses. This includes dental, prescription drugs, long-term care as you get older. There's a lot of ways you can utilize this health savings account. But the great thing about it is I get a tax deduction no matter my income level. You never phase out on it, and it's a great vehicle to still build long-term wealth. And that's one thing I want you to think about at the HSA is this is actually a wealth building tool for retirement, not a health savings account for today. If you invest and continue to grow the money, this is in a tax advantage account. You're not paying taxes, you're growing the money, and we're all going to have a lot of medical expenses as we get older. One of the number one expenses you have in retirement is healthcare. So that first method of the HSA, let's call that the save and invest strategy. I'm going to save the money and invest it and use it later as I get into retirement. Another way I want you to think about the HSA is a save and spend account. I'm saving the money in the health savings account because I'm going to immediately spend it out. For example, let's say you got a kid getting braces and it's going to cost you $3,000. You're not maxing out HSA, but you want to get a deduction for that $3,000 going to the orthodontist. That $3,000, by the way, is not deductible if you just pay it personally. But if I put the $3,000 in my HSA, I get a $3,000 tax deduction. And as I'm paying the $3,000 out to the doctor, this is a qualifying medical expense, no tax on the way out. So it was a way for me to get a $3,000 tax deduction. I'm not investing and saving anything at this point, but I am getting tax benefits and deductions when I otherwise didn't. And that's more money and wealth in my pocket at the end of the day. All right, right, now we're coming back to the 401k. Instead of matching it out, we're coming back. And remember, you can put $23,000 into your 401k as an employee. Now let's go back to the last example, making $100K a year. And let's say you put in $4,000 as an employee already, and you got a $4,000 match from the company. So I've got $8K in my 401k already. Now, there's no more match left from the company. So every dollar I put into this is otherwise money I could be paying myself and getting out of my paycheck. But I'm trying to build long-term wealth in a tax advantage account. So how much money do I have left that I can put in as an employee? There's $8,000 in there now, but I only need to count the $4,000 I put in as an employee to reduce that to say I've got $19,000 left I can put in as an employee, because the total employee contribution is $23K. Already did my $4,000 to get the match. I got 19 left. Now I've got $23,000 in as an employee. I got my $4,000 match. So the total amount I've got in now to my 401k is $27,000. Now, if you're 50 or older in your 401k, you actually get to put an extra $7,500 in as an employee, which means you would have a max employee contribution here of $30,500. And you would still, of course, have the employer match of $4,000 that you already had earlier in the example. So now I've got $34,500 if I'm 50 or older. Now, let's say you're high income though, and you want to put more money into the 401k. Well, we've got the mega backdoor Roth 401k strategy. This example, let's say you make $200K a year, and so you've put in $23,000 as the employee contribution, but also you got $8,000 of matching contributions, because 4% of your total income, and we put in at least $8,000. So now I am up to $31,000 of contributions into my 401k. Now, a 401k can actually have total annual contributions of $69,000. I've put in $31,000 between me as an employee and the match that I got, so I've still got $38,000 left that I can put into the 401k. But how do I get that money in? That's the mega backdoor Roth 401k. In the mega backdoor Roth 401k, I can put in $38,000 of after tax. This is very important. This is called an after tax contribution. That's what you want to ask for with your 401k administrator or company. Can I make an after tax contribution? And that's how you want to designate the money going in. And after that money goes in, you can then roll it out to a Roth IRA. No tax, no conversion, no penalty. There's also an option in some plans to just move it to a Roth 401k bucket within the 401k, or sometimes called the post-tax bucket in your 401k. But we want to make sure this money is Roth money. You do not want to keep after-tax contributions in a 401k. They're a tracking nightmare. There's taxable gains on the investment income. So we always want to roll it out to a Roth IRA or possibly to a Roth 401k within the plan. Now, you're still converting the funds over to Roth dollars, but there's no tax on the contribution because you do not take a deduction on the after-tax employee contribution. So now if I look at my 401k, I've got $69,000 in this thing in total, and that $69,000 of contribution is comprised of $23K employee. Now I could have done traditional or I could have done Roth. I have $8K of employer matching dollars. Now this is a new thing. This could either be traditional or Roth. Starting in 2023, the employer match can actually be Roth dollars. And then the balance here, $38,000, is what gets me to a total of $69,000 into my 401k. But again, we want to be strategic on how we do this. We first want to match it out. Then we want to max out our employee contribution, which by the way, you have to do the mega backdoor Roth. Then we do the mega backdoor Roth strategy at the end to get us up to the $69,000 total. Now, if you own the business, you actually cannot do a mega backdoor Roth 401k unless you have a solo 401k. We see a lot of corporate employees, high income earners use the mega backdoor Roth strategy. All right, next let's talk about a college savings account. For those of you that have kids, you might want to consider this. I start with the kids Roth IRA. You might be like, what the hell are you talking about, Matt? Hear me out on this, okay? The kids Roth IRA, if you got a kid with earned income, maybe they got a summer job, they got a part-time job in junior high or in high school, maybe they work at your rental property in your small business. If they have $7,000 of earned income, they can put $7,000 a year into their Roth IRA. This doesn't have to be their money. This could be your money you're helping set aside for them. Now, remember when I talked about the Roth IRA earlier? The contributions you put into a Roth IRA can come back out tax and penalty free. It's the investment growth that is taxable, and there's penalties to pull out before 59 and a half. So again, if I put 5 years of contributions into this thing, they had a job when we're working at 13 until they hit 18, that's $35,000 I can pull out for college savings. But all the investment returns and growth there, let's say it's another $15,000, I actually can't pull that out, but let's give this to your kids and let them have long-term wealth building and a head start on their own Roth IRA. Now, the cherry on top of this, for you business owners or those who have rental properties where you're paying your kids, that's a tax deduction for you. You otherwise don't get a tax deduction when you put money into a Roth IRA. So let's keep that in mind. The kids' Roth IRA, I like to do that first, but they have to have earned income. So you're not doing this with your 3-year-old. Now, the next account is a Coverdell savings account. You can put $2,000 a year into this. The nice thing about the Coverdell is you can invest it in any investment you want. You can self-direct it. You can have a brokerage account. You can buy real estate, do all the cool things we do at Directed IRA, but you can only put $2,000 a year into it. As the money grows, you don't pay tax in the investment account, and what comes out for qualifying educational expense, there's no tax on the way out. So it's tax advantaged in that way. Now, the 529 is actually the last one I like. A lot of people start with the 529, and most people know the 529. You can put $18,000 a year per person, per child, to a 529. So a married couple, for example, could put $36,000 into one of their kids' 529 account per year. The downside on the 529 is they're notorious for terrible returns. The 529 plans have required investments. You have to stick with the state required fund of the 529 that you're investing into. Now, again, the benefit of the 529 is similar to the Coverdell, is you put the money in, the investment returns, there's no tax on it. So every dollar gets reinvested and is growing. And as the money comes out for qualifying educational expenses, there's no tax on the money coming out. Now, last point here on college savings. Did you notice how I didn't talk about this until point 10? You've got to be saving for your own retirement account. Make sure you're maxing out for your own retirement so it's secure before you're saving for your kids' colleges. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make is they put money into 529s before they max out their own 401k. And I've talked to so many clients over the years who are in their 50s and are broke because they spent all their money putting their 4 kids through college. Now, you've got to determine what you value, and I get it. You want to set your kids up for success, but you've got to secure your own retirement account first. This is the principle they teach in the airlines. Put your own mask on first. Now, I think when it comes to saving for college, one of the best things you can do for your kids is to let them have the challenge themselves of figuring out how to afford it. Of my own kids, 2 of them went to a state university on academic scholarships, and the third one's going to a trade school. This is a much more affordable way to approach college. Also, your child getting a student loan is not the end of the world. This should be their debt for their education, and they should be responsible about it. A good rule of thumb is don't get more student loan debt than you will have in your first year's salary. So if the degree they are seeking will give them a salary of $60,000 when they graduate, they should not get student loan debt in excess of $60,000. Now we're finally getting to a taxable brokerage account. A lot of people start here, but I want to use all the tax advantage saving vehicles I can before I get to the taxable brokerage account. I'm trying to build long-term wealth, and the tax advantage accounts mean as I'm making money on the investments in those accounts, whether this is real estate, which by the way, you can do that in a self-directed retirement account, whether this is private equity, other private investments. You don't just have to buy stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, but at least we know you can invest in an S&P 500 fund and get an 8% rate of return. As that return is coming into the retirement account, zero tax is going on your 1040. Every penny is getting reinvested and growing for your long-term wealth. Once we get to taxable brokerage accounts, sure, I can buy stocks and other things in that account, but I'm paying tax as I'm selling those assets and making different trades. And so it's not as efficient of an account as the tax advantage retirement accounts, HSA, or other college savings accounts. I like to think though of the brokerage account as your midterm savings vehicle. It's a great place to put money until you find another investment. And that brings us to the next strategy, rental properties. Rental properties have been a great investment. We've had so many clients build wealth using the rental property strategy where they acquire properties that can cash flow, that can at least cover their expenses. Maybe it puts money in their pocket every month, plus it appreciates over time. Some of you might be real estate investors and the rental property strategy is way back up in number 2 or 3 in the order of things as we went through the items. But I want you to think of rental properties as a way to build long-term wealth. It's a great strategy because of the cash flow and also because of the appreciation of the property over time. And at a minimum, I want you to think of this strategy. When you're upgrading your home, do not sell your existing home. Turn your former home into your new rental property. I've done that strategy 3 times myself, where the prior home is my next rental property. Why do I do that? Because I bought it at a lower rate, or I held it for a 5 to 10 year window where I could have refinanced to a lower rate. From the time I bought it and the mortgage payment I secured and the pricing to the value of rent in a 5 to 10 year window, it's a very profitable investment. Next, consider alternative assets as a way to build and grow wealth. Alternative assets are these categories of investments like oil and gas, small business, private equity, private lending that is proven to have a greater return than the stock market. And so a lot of sophisticated investors are putting their money into alternative assets. It takes a little more work to find and locate and source alternative assets, but they can have much more significant returns. By the way, your IRA and 401k can also own alternative assets. We do our own company, Directed IRA, every day. You can learn more, of course, at directedira.com. And I got tons of videos on how to use your IRA or 401k funds to invest in real estate and private equity and private funds and in small businesses. So make sure you click on that video in the description below. And the last one here, paying off low interest debt. Let's say you've got a student loan at 4% interest or a mortgage at a 3.5% rate. Should I pay that down, or should I otherwise invest those dollars in something that can get me an 8% or greater return? Now, my preference is to otherwise invest those dollars. I think low interest debt is good debt, and you're better off actually investing that money into other investments that can grow at a higher rate of return. Now, there are differing opinions on this, and I've had many clients over the years tell me the satisfaction of paying off their mortgage for their own residence, or also paying off their student loans even though they were at a 3% interest. And so if that's something you value and you don't want to have debt, you want to be debt-free, I totally get it. This is your financial plan and wealth building strategy. So I'm not against paying off low interest debt. I'm just saying it's not for me and the way I want to allocate my money, because I know those dollars could otherwise go into income producing assets or assets that have a greater return than the cost of the debt. All right, that's the order of investing for building wealth. And I think that is the exact order you should be thinking about as you're going to build wealth. Now, if you're just getting started, don't get overwhelmed with all of these things. Just worry about the next thing on the list. Do you have an emergency savings account? Have you signed up for the 401k at your work? Have you paid off your high interest debt? And keep going in that order and just worry about the next thing you need to know to build wealth. And as your income increases over time, you go on to the next step in the order. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel, because I've got a video on almost every one of these separate strategies here on building wealth that goes into more detailed steps and considerations you should know. Also, don't forget the downloadable guide that is a blueprint on this and is a great takeaway and handy item to have, along with your own financial plan and notes on what you're going to do in your specific situation. The most important thing you need to do to start building wealth is to take action. You know, everybody starts at a different place when it comes to building wealth, but I hope this guide tells you where you should start and what you should be thinking about next as you're on your journey to building long-term wealth. We'll see you next time.